guys have just been ineffective on that team. 31st, the New York Giants. Man, I thought they were a playoff team coming into the year. And I don't even know who's going to be the receivers this week. Tavares King and Travis Rudolph, I think, are going to be their guys going the rest of the week. And yeah, that's tough. Exactly. Well, Travis Rudolph was from Florida State, and Tavares King I never heard of before looking at their roster. So that's who's going to be catching passes.
Those are the two big targets for Eli Manning.
Go from one of the most talented receiving corps to guys off the street.
I mean, that's just terrible luck for them. And 30th, the 49ers. I kind of thought they'd be bad going into the year. They've had some shining moments with George Kittle, their rookie tight end from Iowa. He's played well, and Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. He's going to get things turned around, but Brian Hoyer's just not the answer. It's going to take a couple years to clean up the mess that's been left there in San Francisco. 29, the artist formerly known as the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, they have been bad. I mean, they really probably should have lost to the Giants on Sunday, if not for a turnover late in their own territory. After losing all their wide receivers, the Chargers would be 0-5, and they're finding ways to lose. Philip Rivers he's taking 2 steps back. I mean, the dude,
he's deteriorating.
It's not the same Philip Rivers, and you almost got to wonder if it's even beneficial for the Chargers to keep him going forward. And then 28, the Colts. I mean, they have the worst roster in the NFL, in my opinion. And
you're not wrong.
Even with
I tried to be nice about it.
Even with Andrew Luck, I mean, this roster isn't good. And you throw in an unexperienced quarterback like Jacoby Brissett and an aging running back like Frank Gore, and they just haven't really anything going. They've looked silly at times this year.
Yeah, okay, so my bottom 5, I'll start at 28 and go down. I had the Chicago Bears. When they had Mike Glenn, they were bad. When they have Trubisky, they're bad, but they have a light to the future. So that's kind of my thing with the Bears. They need receivers for Trubisky, though. They have no one to throw to on the outside. The best 2 offensive linemen are both running backs, and Howard and Cohen. So they need someone on the outside for him to actually throw the ball to. So that's one thing I look for the Bears to maybe improve next year and just kind of let Trubisky work things out a little bit this year, go through some growing pains, and let him get some experience this year. Number 29, the Indianapolis Colts, who I think, as Trevor said, had one of the worst rosters. Jacoby Brissett is a mile of an upgrade over Scott Tolzien. That's because Tolzien is awful, not because Brissett is really that good. He's mobile enough to run behind the offensive line a little bit and buy some time, so he's able to get stuff. And their wins this year have not been against good teams. It's Niners and Browns, the 2 teams they've beaten, who are my bottom 2 teams. So it's not like they've beaten good teams this year, so they're a really bad team in my opinion. If Andrew Luck comes back, I don't know if he should come back in the first place. Let just kind of lose more games, get a good draft pick, and maybe have a trade. The team needs a quarterback, and you can pick up some talent around that roster to build around Andrew Luck, or go a different direction, kind of see what the Colts want to do there. 30, I have the New York Giants as well. No receivers really left on that roster of note, and Eli Manning's getting very old with the rookie offensive line. And then if you look around, their defense this year is definitely not as good as it has been in the past, and it kind of mind-boggling a little bit because they were one of the top defenses last year in the NFL, and this year, I don't know if it's because they're on the field so long or what it is, but they just don't have the same ability they had last year against the rest of the NFL. And then I have at 31 the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're bad on purpose right now. They're one of the tanking teams without actually saying they're tanking because Brian Hoyer's not a good quarterback. I think they want Darnold or Rosen in the draft this year. Someone for Kyle Shanahan to work with who has actual talent at quarterback.
And it sounds like they could make a pitch at Kirk Cousins this offseason too.
Exactly. You get a high draft pick, and you can have someone you can maybe trade out to a team that needs a quarterback, and you can build a roster around Kirk Cousins there in San Francisco. So we'll see what happens there. I like what Kyle Shanahan does. He had worlds of wonder with Matt Ryan. I think he can do that with another quarterback in San Francisco. He just needs the right quarterback, and Brian Hoyer is not that. And then the final team is the Cleveland Browns, just because they're Cleveland and they have to start Kevin Hogan this week, and that's just not a good news. So they're just that bad.
They're just the Cleveland Browns. That's the bottom line.
Remember, there was a point this year we thought, the Browns obviously they're still going to be the Browns, but they might be able to impress some people this year, and they just haven't.
I'll tell you what, though.
I think they're cursed.
Myles Garrett looked really good.
He did. Yes, he does. He's fun to watch.
And it's unfortunate that he's playing in Cleveland. Because he's not going to get the recognition that I think he's going to deserve if he continues to play in Cleveland. But he looked really good last week. Well, yeah, Joe Thomas is one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time.
He's played every single snap in his career for an awful team, and I just feel for him because that's just so brutal. I think that you were such a good tackle and you block every single play in your career, and you're still your team just awful around you.
He should be a first ballot Hall.
Absolutely, Joe Thomas, and I will go on record and say it right now that Joe Thomas is one of the greatest offensive linemen in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I think
just stuck in Cleveland. And he's stuck in Cleveland.
You could easily agree in top 5, at worst top 10, easily.
Yeah.
I think.
So that's our bottom 5 teams right there in the NFL. Next thing we're going to is the games to watch this weekend. We're all going to pick a certain game. We'll go with you first, Trevor. What is your game to watch this weekend or week in the NFL?
It's the first game this week. Eagles-Panthers on Thursday night. How about this year? The last couple of years we've whined about Thursday night games. Haven't been very good. Last week we got Bucs-Patriots. This week we Eagles-Panthers. Next week we get Chiefs-Raiders. I like this Carolina team a lot. I still would like to see more out of Christian McCaffrey. Their defense is playing good. Cam Newton's kind of getting the grips of being a pocket quarterback. And the Eagles are a good team. This is going to be fun, and there could be quite a bit of points in this one.
Who do you think wins that game?
I got to go with Philadelphia. I think that they can get it done. Like a 34-31 type game or something. That'll be a fun one to watch on Thursday night.
Who do you think wins that game before we go to your pick, Ryan?
I'm going Philadelphia. I think the offense gets it done, as you mentioned. You look at a team like that, and you see Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz played really good this year. That defensive front is just. I think they're going to give trouble to Cam Newton. I think they're going to give trouble to the Panthers' running game, and I just don't think Carolina's going to be able to get off the ball very well on offense.
As you said, I think the Eagles have the best combination of line play in the league right now, offensive defensive line. I think they're really up there in the league right now, and I think if you look at that, I had the Eagles win this game as well. And it might get ugly because I think Cam Newton can get under pressure quite a bit, maybe throw a pick or two, and it might get ugly there in Carolina in that game. So, Ryan, go to your game. Your game's a little bit different for game of the week that you're wanting to watch for. Something that you would have said the last couple of years, people would be like, what? So what game do you expect to be interesting this week you want to watch?
A little bit of a surprise is the Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a game that these are two teams that may be for real. We're not sure. They're both 3-2. They're both at least tied for the lead in their division.
I like the Rams a lot.
And I think they both may be for real. You look at this game, and this is a battle of a team that's got a quarterback that's playing out of his mind right now.
You're not talking about Blake Bortles, are you?
No. Okay. No. The Los Angeles Rams have a quarterback that's playing out of his mind right now, and Jared Goff. Goff's playing really well to start the season. They found the run game in Todd Gurley. He's had a good start of the season, with the exception of last week where he had a fumble and didn't have very many rushing yards. But other than that, other than last week, he's had a pretty good year this year. And you look on the other side, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a pound the football team.
Yes.
Turn around, hand the ball to Leonard Fournette, and let him rush for 181 yards like he did last week, which he's not going to do every week. Also, this is one of the most opportunistic defenses in football. Yeah. 5 interceptions last week. 2 touchdowns between the defense and the special teams.
And I think Jalen Ramsey's on his way to being one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. I mean, I think in 2 or 3 years you could be throwing Jalen Ramsey's in the name of the category the same you do like an Eric Berry right now. That kid is something special, and defensively, I mean, they're underrated, I think.
Yeah, I think this could be one of the top defenses in the NFL, and not a whole lot of people are looking at it that way.
I've seen a comparison with the Jaguars defense this year to the 2009 Jets team. They had Mark Sanchez at quarterback, they had Thomas Jones at running back, and then a really good defense headlined by Darrelle Revis. You look at the Jaguars, you have Blake Bortles at quarterback, Leonard Fournette running back, and then you have Ramsey there at defensive back. The one thing I want to say between those two teams that I mentioned, I commented there was, yes, that was pre-butt fumble Mark Sanchez. He was actually decent at that time. Blake Bortles has never been good. So that's one thing I would say there.
I wouldn't say never. I think you go back to his second year, and he came out and had
because they were down in the fourth quarter, 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I mean, Blake Bortles is bad, don't get me wrong. But I think Bortles has more of a big play potential than Sanchez, but he has, and I never thought I'd say this about a quarterback, more of a chance to make mistakes than Sanchez. I mean,
it's saying a lot right there.
Blake Bortles could go out and throw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in a game, and it wouldn't surprise me.
And one of the big differences I think that you see in the other way between that Jets team and this current Jacksonville Jaguars team is they've got a great pass rusher in Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville Jaguars do. Campbell's had a good year rushing the passer. He's got 6 sacks.
4 came week 1 versus Houston.
Yeah, and he's been able to rush the quarterback. He's something that Jets team didn't have as much in a great pass rusher. And so that, I think, makes this Jaguars defense more complete.
And they got some dudes there on defense with Smith, Jack, Gibson, Church back there, Malik Fowler. Jackson. They have so many guys. Malik Jackson. They have a bunch of guys who are first-round picks plus free agents that came over that they spent big money on. So that defense is definitely retooled. I do worry about their run defense because it's not great, but if they can get ahead in games and then ground the clock out and use that pass defense to their advantage in the pass rush, they can win some games, especially in the AFC South, and possibly win that division.
Yeah.
Going back to this game, Rams-Jaguars, who do you have winning it?
I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to go in and play the the old school traditional style of football, turn around, hand the football off, let your running game do the work for you, and I think that's how they're going to beat this Rams defense. And I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a fun football game, but I think the Jaguars keep possession of the football enough to get them the win.
That's the recipe for the Jaguars win. What about you, Trevor? Who wins this game?
I'm going to go the Los Angeles Rams. So people forget is the Rams have one of the best front sevens as well.
Aaron Donald's really good.
Yeah, Aaron Donald might go down as one of the most underrated players ever because he's played in the same era with J.J. Watt and Kuechly. And like you mentioned, Jacksonville's run defense is a little suspect. Todd Gurley's really good. He's had a really good year. Jared Goff's going to spread the ball out. It'll be interesting how that game goes. But I like the Rams, and it might be a little uncomfortable for the Jaguars.
I think it's going to be maybe an ugly game for the Rams offense, but I think they're going to be able to make enough plays late. They were almost a catch away from beating the Seahawks there last week. I think they're going to be able to make that play this week, and they're going to win on the road in Jacksonville. Not a great home field advantage there for Jacksonville down there in Florida, so I think the Rams are going to be able to overcome making that long trip across from west to east coast. The Rams are going to get the win there in Jacksonville, but it's an underrated game. Thanks for picking that one out, Ryan. Underrated game in the NFL this week. And then my game of the week is the Steelers at the Chiefs. Big game there in the AFC. The Steelers coming off a loss to Jacksonville last week. And it always happens to the Chiefs. They always put the Steelers after they get blown out by somebody. Last year it was the Philadelphia game. They lost 34-3. They put the Chiefs the next week, beat the Chiefs 43-14. It makes no sense. The Steelers play on so much emotion. That's why this game scares the crap out of me as a Chiefs fan. But the Chiefs this year feel a little different. The Steelers feel different. The Steelers feel dysfunctional right now with Big Ben talking about retirement. Le'Veon Bell wanting the ball more. Antonio Brown's a typical receiver. He wants the ball more. So I think there's just so many things happening right now with the Steelers that they won't be able to overcome the trip to Arrowhead. And I think the Chiefs move to 6-0, beating the Steelers there at home. They're going to finally get that monkey off their back and beat Big Ben in a full game, which I think it's been 0-6 against Big Ben when it's a full game with Big Ben, including the playoffs last year.
I hope you're right.
I do too, but I'm scared though.
I have my doubts. This just feels like a game that Pittsburgh's going to come into Kansas City and win by 35. It just feels like it. You look at the secondary the Chiefs have had this year with Eric Berry being out. I have this feeling that by the end of the day, Antonio Brown is going to make Phil Gaines cry. I mean, you remember last year, I can't remember which receiver it was, but they basically torched DJ White. And I think we can see the same results going ahead this week with the Steelers. This game to me, I'm just preparing to take the L this week.
That's what I did last week with Houston. The Chiefs came out and won, so maybe.
Yeah, I think this is like a 41-17.
What do you got, Bruce?
And I think what the Chiefs need to do to win this football game, you have to put pressure on Big Ben. You have to make him uncomfortable in the pocket, because the more uncomfortable he gets in the pocket, the more mistakes he's going to make.
Like
it's the same concept. Well, yeah, and it's the same concept as it was with Phillip Rivers. You put him under pressure, he's going to make mistakes. That almost takes Antonio Brown out of the game then if you can chip him off the line of scrimmage.
And this isn't the same Big Ben from even 3 or 4 years ago where
last year,
if you got him inside the pocket, he could get out of the pocket and make plays. I mean, we saw last week with Jacksonville, they were able to keep him in the pocket, and when they put pressure on him, he panicked. So you got to do that.
And so then if you chip Antonio Brown coming off the line of scrimmage, that puts him on his back foot. So with Big Ben on his back foot, Antonio Brown on his back foot, the entire game then hinges on Le'Veon Bell. And I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers can trust Le'Veon Bell to put together an entire game for them and put the team on his back.
I do worry about the Chiefs' run defense.
And but that's what, if you put the entire game on Le'Veon Bell's back, I don't think the Steelers can win the football game. The other thing you look at is this is a team that allowed 181 yards to Leonard Fournette last week.
We have Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt could put up a huge number this week. Or he could have an awful football game. We're going to hope that it's the former rather than the latter, for Chiefs fans anyway. And so, but he's got a chance to put up a big number this week. And I think if he does, and you combine that with the defense putting some pressure on Big Ben, chipping Antonio Brown off the line of scrimmage, Chiefs have a good chance to come away with a win against the Steelers.
And one thing to remember with the Chiefs right now, they have cluster injuries on the offensive line right now. Guard, center, guard, all banged up right now. We'll see if they can get healthy here soon with Tardif, Morse, and then Ehringer there, the other guard who hadn't played all year. They had Irving come in. He had a decent game last week for the Chiefs there against Houston and their front line. So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs there. Also keep an eye on Travis Kelce if he's going to be healthy this week, coming off concussion protocol. See if he'll be cleared for the game or not. Might need him versus Pittsburgh, since he is probably the best outside weapon we have outside of Tyreek Hill. And one thing with Andy Reid, as we said earlier, does a nice job scheming guys open. Albert Wilson, not an overly talented guy, but he makes plays in this Chiefs offense because of Andy Reid. You have Anthony Thomas getting touchdowns for Kendrick West. You have so many options. Demetrius Harris somehow makes catches I mean, it's just what happened to the Chiefs.
One guy that I really liked, and I liked him in college too, Demarcus Robinson. I mean, this is a guy I think you're going to see maybe take over more of that Chris Conley type role where he might only have 3 or 4 catches for 30-some yards, but they could come on a key third down or when they need a first down to continue the game. So,
and Alex Smith's MVP.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
So that's what we have right there. Also, Justin Houston's a stud. We can't go the whole segment with the Chiefs, not talk about Justin Houston, how good he is as a run stopper and pass rusher there for the Chiefs. Now we'll go to college football. We're going to do our college football playoff favorites in this game right now, in this year so far. And Trevor, I know you have a hot take, so we're going to go Ryan first and have the reasonable take first. Who's your final 4 teams in
I've been saying it for a long time, and I think I'm going to continue to say it. I think this is the first year of the college football playoff we see all 5 Power 5 champions undefeated. Clemson undefeated, Bama undefeated, Penn State undefeated, Washington undefeated, TCU undefeated.
All right.
I think all 5 power conference champions go undefeated, and I think they leave out TCU in that situation. I don't think they give. I think, honestly, TCU should be in over Washington, but I don't think the playoff committee will see in the Big 12 what a lot of people do. I think they're going to continue to not give the Big 12 as much credit as they give the other Power 5 conferences. So Bama 1, Clemson 2, Penn State 3, Washington.
That would be TCU undefeated with wins at Norman, Oklahoma, and at K-State, and that as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with TCU there if they do go undefeated with an undefeated Washington and Penn State as well. Or did you say Penn State or who did you say?
Penn State.
Penn State, yes. Okay, so Penn State. Okay, Trevor, we'll go to your scorching hot take alert, guys. So what do you got for us, Trevor?
Well, when the college football playoff came out a couple of years ago, and I saw it was a 14 playoff, and obviously it means one of the Power 5 is going to get left out. And I knew at some point we were going to get a situation where 2 teams from the same conference are going to get it. It's just going to happen. And it's going to be the SEC or the Big Ten because those are the ones the media loves, and those tend to be the ones that have the best case for that. So I'm going to say the Pac-12 champion, which I think will be Washington, but they might have a loss. The Pac-12 just beats itself up every year. And TCU, I think, wins the Big 12 with a loss somewhere in there, gets left out. Therefore, I'm going to go Clemson, Penn State, SEC runner-up Alabama, and SEC champion Georgia. This Georgia team's a team that, it's a sizzling team. This Georgia team's a team that surprised me this year. When Jacob Eason went, I thought, man, this is the same old Georgia team. But Jake Fromm stepped in, and I think he's won that starting job so far.
Eason played last week. I just want to say Eason came in and he started last week, looked really good. They kept it quiet, though. But
Fromm's looked good, though, too.
Yes,
and you look at the running backs they have with Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, good running combination there, a good defense. Kirby Smart coached in Alabama before. This is a Georgia guy who's now the head coach in Alabama, so he kind of knows what to expect with Nick Saban. And their schedule's really nice to them the rest of the season. So I'm going to say Bulldogs find a way in, and with that being said, they'll probably lose to Mizzou this week.
All right, fair enough there for Trevor. My final 4 for the Heisman right now, I have Clemson getting the 1 seed, Alabama the 2 seed, Penn State the 3 seed. I have USC coming back and winning the Pac-12. I have them coming back through, going undefeated throughout the rest of the season. Even though that one loss to Washington State, then they come back to be either Washington or Washington State in the Pac-12 championship game, and they'll get in over a 1-loss Oklahoma State or Oklahoma team there in the Big 12 is what I think is going to happen out there. So that's what I have going on in my college football playoff. I do like your opinion maybe of 2 teams from the same conference getting in, because if that happens, you might see a chain reaction where they get the 18 playoff, and that's kind of where I want to go to in the future. But that's a topic for another day. Up next, we will have our Heisman favorites. We'll go to you first, Trevor. Who is your Heisman favorite? You're the Iowa fans. We give you first choice for your Heisman favorite and just Heisman candidates. Who do you got?
Well, I watched this guy personally torch Iowa, so I got to go Saquon Barkley from Penn State.
305 yards from scrimmage that game.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize how many yards he had. It was just so consistent. I looked at my, holy cow, he's torched our defense apart. This kid's the real deal. Over 1,100 all-purpose yards, 8 total touchdowns. He looks pretty darn good. And about every third year or so, a running back wins the Heisman Trophy because they get to take a quarterback's winning it. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley.
All right, who's another Heisman candidate for you, Ryan?
Right now, and I think he's the number 2 behind Saquon Barkley, because for me, Barkley's the favorite for the Heisman, but keep an eye on this guy. This is Bryce Love from Stanford. This is a guy that's averaging 10.5 yards per carry this year. Per carry.
That's not bad.
That's ridiculous. 1,240 yards on the season.
Leads FBS.
Yeah, and that's incredible. I think the one difference between he and Saquon Barkley is Barkley is a 3-4 tool guy. He's a returner, he's a receiver, he's a runner. Dude can throw the ball. Well, Bryce Love is a running back, and a running back only at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think is the difference between he and
maybe the
Barkley.
win-loss record to the team as well.
And I think, when you look at that, Stanford right now, they're not going to be in the playoff. I mean, obviously, if Penn State makes a playoff, a large part of it's going to be due to Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
Stanford's been in a situation before, and you remember Toby Gerhart? He probably actually should have won the Heisman Trophy over Mark Ingram when you look at the numbers and stuff. But since Stanford was an 8-9 win team, and Mark Ingram led Alabama to an undefeated season, Ingram got the Heisman.
So listen to this. This is his 6 games this season. At Rice, 13 carries, 180 yards and a touchdown. At USC, 17 carries, 160 yards and a touchdown. At San Diego State, 13 carries, 184, 2 touchdowns. UCLA, 30 carries, 263 yards and a touchdown.
Only 8.8 yards carry that play game.
Arizona State, 25 carries, 301 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, and then at Utah, 20 carries for 152 yards and a touchdown.
This is in the Pac-12 too, where teams like to spread the ball out a lot and throw it. And Stanford's always had good running backs. So Toby Gerhart, Stephon Taylor, Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, that game for 301 yards against Arizona State, that broke the record set by Iowa's favorite running back in Stanford, Christian McCaffrey.
Is not
his record.
Well, and he's had more than 150 yards in each game this season. He's got ridiculous. 3 games in which he's averaged 12 yards per carry or more, and then the other 3 games 9.4, 8.8, 7.6.
Yeah, not bad. So he's a pretty good running back there for Stanford. Got to keep it mentioned for the Heisman race though. Baker Mayfield, the quarterback from Oklahoma. I know they lost to Iowa State. I know it's a bad loss, especially at home. And it wasn't really his fault. I mean, he still played okay, but the defense kind of failed him versus Iowa State. So I think he still has a chance if you can get a win versus Oklahoma State, win versus TCU and K-State. He has enough big games left on his schedule to make some national games and just make enough impact to win the Heisman. If you look at his stats this year, 1,635 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a passer rating of 214.1. He's been outstanding there for Oklahoma. So if you look at Baker Mayfield, he's probably the best quarterback left of the Heisman candidates because Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen kind of fallen off a little bit there for the Heisman race, at least for college football. So, and Luke Falk is also up there. If you look at guys maybe under the radar again, Jake Browning from Washington, because their games are on so late, their coach complains about it. So if you want to look at other guys who are maybe in the running, but I have Baker Mayfield probably that top 3 there with the 2 running backs from Penn State and Stanford. So that's it for this. All we got today.
I believe that is all
Weekend Sports Kickoff. This is the special show. Usually we're on Fridays 2 to 5 on X106, 106.7 LP Maryville, over in the studio over in Wells Hall. Also on KNWT, where Joseph Andrews is our producer for that show. So make sure you tune in every Friday from 2 to 5 on the station there for KNWT and X106. You can catch the show also on Facebook Live as we are right now. So I want to thank Trevor and Ryan being here on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks everybody back in the truck for producing the show. And that's it for us from the Union for exploring majors and minors here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. That was awful.
What do you guys think about the Cowboys?